Volkanovski, not retired. Volkanovski, still champion. Volkanovski's coach spoke with Daniel after the fight and said they're looking at getting another 4 fights. The coach was being really open and honest. Like, this was not just something you say or like he's high on life and adrenaline and something comes out of his mouth. He was being really open and honest. He was giving an assessment. He was telling us about camp. He was letting us in on the fact Volk had a shoulder injury. His shoulder was going in and out. At one point, the coach thought that they might even have to call the UFC and scrap the whole fight. It was just a really open and honest conversation. So I don't take this with a grain of salt. I take it quite literal. When Coach Lopez said we think that Volk can do another 4 fights, interesting spot. It really is. And this happens to all of the greats. Somebody begins calling for their retirement. And when a great gives us a retirement, we then try to shove that back across the table and tell them, no, you've still got more. You can still win. Khabib comes to mind. No, Khabib, don't retire. You've got so much more that you can do. Everybody's right. Khabib is right. If I go out tonight, I go out on top. This is the way that I want to go out. Could have Khabib done a couple of more? For sure. And just gone out on top some other night? Yeah. But how many? I mean, how many until, right? You see the problem? So a lot of people thought that Volk was going to retire. The genesis for Volk retiring was largely geographical, that he's at home. He's in front of his people. You then combine that with he's done everything there is to do. He has broken every record that there is. He has solidified himself. So why go on? And that's a kind of person. That's a kind of person that thinks unless you have something to gain and unless it can add to your legacy and it's like, I have nothing more to win. I'm not that kind of person. I don't have a problem with that kind of person. I don't know that they're right or that I'm right. I'm just sharing that it's inside. I don't get it. If that's what you do and you're a fighter and you want to go and compete and you've got X amount of time to go compete, then you go and compete. The opponent is second. What it mean is second. What do you mean? What does it mean? This isn't about tomorrow. This is about tonight. Me versus him. Can I beat him tonight? I don't care what you think about this in 10 years. But that's a kind of person. Right? So I'm only sharing for you that I was starting to get won over to the side that Volk was going to retire. Just because I'm hearing it from all directions. A problem with believing that, right? And I'm backing up the tape to Saturday night. The problem with believing that Volk was going to retire is Volk has been so open with us, the community, telling us he gets depressed, that he makes bad decisions. Volk has told us that free time has not been good to him. He needs his time occupied with a goal. And for an MMA athlete, that means MMA and having a competition, seeing that finish line. So I don't know that Volk will ever willingly take himself out of this sport. I don't know that he ever will. There are some guys that can't go without it. Anderson Silva is still competing to this day. Like, he hasn't shared with us that he doesn't like free time, but he has demonstrated, no, I like to put my efforts into this. And I just don't know that our idea that Volk's going to go out on top, say like Khabib did. I don't know. And I wonder what Coach Lopez means. We can get another 4 out of him. I imagine his coach means we can go win 4 more fights. But it doesn't have to mean that. What if Volk he wins his next one, he loses his next one. Now we've still got, according to Coach Lopez's calendar, we still got 2. Does he go and do those 2? Or is it only about championships? Does one have nothing to do with the other? Like, by example, the next time Volk loses, is that his last fight? Wouldn't it have to be? We, the community, love to decide that, but didn't we just do that to Kamaru Usman? Who then came back and showed us all, no, I'm still just as dangerous and hungry now? I don't know what it means for Volk. And 4 does sound right. By the way, I mean, there's a time in your career when you will start not fighting as well. There is no champion in the UFC that has put a gap between himself and the field like Volk. One judge believed he won all 5 rounds Saturday. So one licensed judge, who, by the way, I agree with, I happen to think that Volk won all 5 rounds. One licensed judge says the next best guy, the number one contender who can beat everybody else in the field, is 5 rounds worse than Volk. Like, Volk could get worse and still be the best. There's not a lot of guys that could do that. Khabib had room. George St. Pierre had room. John Jones has room. John Jones is not fighting as well now as he used to fight, and he's still the champion of the world that doesn't lose rounds like that. Right? You got to be a really rare kind of athlete. But when I do look at this 4 that Coach Lopez says, you're talking about a year and a half. Let's just round up, let's call it 2 years. The Volk that fought Saturday, if he never goes to practice again, and believe me, you can get really bad really fast if you just don't go to practice. Really, I'm talking like 2 months. So you can go from best in the world to stumbling around a practice room. I mean, you're trying to relearn balance and timing and shaping. The Volk that I saw Saturday, if he never goes to practice again, now he shows up on fight night, right? He gets to get some workouts in so he can get down to weight. In 2 years, 4 fights, I'm not confident anybody can beat him. He would not be fighting as well. He would be fighting worse, but would it be worse enough to close the gap of separation that he's put between himself and everybody else? I don't think so. That's if he never practices again. He just shows up on the night. So now he's going to be tired. He's going to be a little bit more slow. That's an interesting question, actually. That's actually a very interesting question. He'd be around 40. If Volk never practiced again, could anyone beat him in the next 2 years? Not likely.